So this week's video is just going to be around setting up a very simple table, like a self-generated table from scratch. So you probably have your master sample, your data set open, your sample data set. I'm going to go ahead and create a new fresh spreadsheet for this activity. So on this, I just want to create any kind of table. Now, most of the time people put their headers, their most important information that they may want to sort later and filter on row 1. That doesn't mean you have to, but that's the easiest way to sort and filter correctly, is to put the most important information on row 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put first name. And then instead of like clicking all the time, if you use your tab buttons, it'll also go across the rows. And if you use your down buttons, so tab and down, both of these, the arrow cues, the cursor, and the tab button can both go up and down on a sheet. All right. Now, sometimes I'm okay if like I just want to say student 1. And if I pull this blue button down, it's going to copy things. And it's going to try to list things like in a row. So watch what happens with student 1. Now I have all the way to student 13. I can also go to a document, and I can place in my first names and last names from a Google Doc. I have to highlight all of the students and highlight as many rows as I need, and then push Control C or Command C, whichever way, if you're on a Mac or you're on a Windows, that matters. And then I can go ahead and do scores. So like percentile rank. And then I can fill in all the important data that I have or I want, or I can copy and paste from another cell. Now, sometimes I want to go ahead and instead of having invisible cells, that's the gray cells, sometimes I want them to print so that I can see the grid lines. If I don't have grid lines and I want grid lines, I go ahead here. And these give you all of those options. So like this would fill in every single square. This undoes them. This would just do the inside, and the outside border is not highlighted. If I click it off, this just does the outside border. Now, if I want to change other things, I'm going to go ahead and do a grid line. And I want to go ahead and make my lines darker. That's this button here. It can make them this way, which gives you dotted lines as your grid, or it can give you really bold lines as your grid. I'm going to go ahead to regular grid. I can also change the color of my grid. So I can make my grid red or black. And then I can go ahead and like, all right, I want to have my first line bolded, and I want to have my first line centered. So this is the beginning of just making your own table on Google Sheets.